I'd like to call the Board of Supervisors to order. Will we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Even Tom.
One announcement. It has been requested that consent agenda item 5 be pulled and continued till next week's agenda. If there's no opposition from the board, then the chair will so order that that be done. So item 5 will be continued till next week. The following consent agenda items are expected to be routine and non-controversial. They will be acted upon by the board at one time without further discussion. Any board member, staff member, or interested member of the public may request that any item on the consent agenda be removed for further discussion prior to the board's taking action. Does any board member wish to pull any item on the consent agenda? Does any staff member wish to pull any item on the consent agenda? Is there any member of the public here present this morning that has any item on the consent agenda, items 1 through 5 inclusive, they wish to have discussed with or by the board prior to the board's taking action? Okay, Peter wants to pull number 4. Any other members of the public?
Was that 3?
Al said 3.
3 or 4?
I wanted 4, please.
Oh, 4. Okay, who said 3?
3.
Okay. Al Segal is pulling.
3 items or number 3?
Number 3.
Okay, the chair is open for motion on the balance of the consent agenda as presented. Okay, dies for
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Supervisor Callaway, a second by Supervisor Tofinelli. Is there further board discussion? All in favor so indicate by stating aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes on a 5-0 vote of the Board of Supervisors. We'll go back to item 3, a minute order authorizing board clerk to sign a memorandum allowing the Bret Harte Union High School District and the Calaveras Unified School District and Mark Twain Union Elementary School District to issue their 2011-2012 tax and revenue anticipation notes on their own behalf. This is brought to us by County Council. Al, what question do you have on this?
I'd like to know what the liability is to the taxpayer, and if there are a ceiling as to how much money can be borrowed through this means. There was $6 million in this type of financing on the Bret Harte Union School District, which was transferred to the property owners through a bond issue, and which would not have been, if that money, that $6 million had been submitted to the voters as a bond issue, they would have a chance to decide whether they wanted to spend the money or not. But when it was included with the bond issue that included other improvements to the district, it was pretty well overlooked, and most people didn't even know it was there. So the questions are, what is the liability to the taxpayers because of board action? And what is the limit on the amount of money that can be borrowed using this means?
Well, the liability is obviously the
identify himself?
What?
Can you have the speaker identify himself?
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Al Segal. I'm president of the Calaveras County Taxpayer Association.
County Council, you brought this, so why don't you answer the 2 questions?
Well, this is the financing method of a tax and revenue anticipation note. It's available to the school district to generate funds in anticipation of receiving their tax revenue. I'm telling you what I do know about it. I don't know the answer to his questions. The questions are going to have to be directed to the school board, obviously. The law requires that the school district come to this board for permission to proceed with the plan. This has been something that's been done every year for as long as I can recall. But the questions about in the end, the only thing I can tell you with assurance is that the county has no liability for the tram. Yeah. Beyond that, I think the questions need to be addressed to the school district.
I would just add, it's just a cash flow mechanism. I mean, the taxes come in twice a year, and if you need some money, but you have a balanced budget, but you have a cash flow problem because you have to spend some of it before the tax money comes in, then you do a tax and revenue anticipation note. And it's limited to the amount of money that will come in from taxes. So there's very limited liability, but I guess there's always some liability.
Well, but there's also no pressure on increased tax. This is money already in the system that's coming in.
Yeah, this is in the budget, but it doesn't. But the revenues don't always come in as the expenditures are required. So it's just a cash flow mechanism. Okay. Any other discussion?
The county does this itself. We do it so we can prepay PERS, and it may be possible that they want to prepay STARS in order to get a discount. STIRS, excuse me, not STARS, STIRS, in order to get a discount. So the county participates in this also at the beginning of the year.
Any further board discussion, public discussion? Chair is open for motion.
So moved.
I have a motion by Supervisor Walensky, a second by?
Second.
By Supervisor Spellman. Is there further board discussion?
No.
Well, they both said it, so they went with
We both
Spellman.
said it, so.
Further board discussion. All in favor so indicate by stating aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes on a 5-0 vote of the board. Move to item 4, a minute order approving the Wallace Community Services District proposed resolution to form an assessment district. This is also a county council issue. Peter, would you come forward, state your name for the record, and give us what your question is?
For the record, my name is Peter, Rancho Calaveras, Race. I have a concern about it. So there's an option available for the petitioners to getting into the water district. And my concern is it's based on a 1913 Act, which is wonderful, back in 1913. But since then, the state that passed Prop 218, overwhelming me by 2/3. I know it's a big pain in the rear for a lot of the elected officials, but there is a reason why Prop 218 is available and should be fully exercised. That's a big movement. It's a question of a lot of future liability and benefits to the folks in the Wallace area. I've been following it somewhat, and I fully agree that there should be and it could be and etc. into the district. But I'm very hesitant when elected officials in any way try to circumvent and make it easier to involve people into any kind of liability for future liability and benefits without doing the proper Prop 218, which is in the California Constitution, and it should be fully respected and taken advantage of. I'm fully agreeing that that district should be, because it would be benefit the district. But I strongly propose that they go through the hassle and the pain in the rear to go through Prop 218 procedures. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments on this item?
My name is Jackie Neal, and I'm the volunteer gopher at Wallace Community Services District. And we are going to go through Prop 218. This is a step that's necessary. LAFCO is also necessary, and then we'll get there. And nothing happens if the Prop 218 vote fails.
Thank you. Any other public comments? I'll bring it back to the board. Any additional board comments? Chair is open for motion.
Go ahead.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Supervisor Tofinelli, a second by Supervisor Walensky. Are there further board comments? All in favor, so indicate by stating aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes on a 5-0 vote of the board. We'll move forward then to our public comments items under the regular agenda, our 9:10 a.m. item. 5 minutes per person. Comments shall be limited to items of interest to the public that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. So if there are public comments, please come forward, state your name. If you'd be kind enough to state your name for the record to help the board clerk with the minutes, that would be appreciated.
Good morning, board. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Gary Caldwell, Valley Springs. My wife and I subscribe to 3 regional newspapers to try to keep abreast of what's happening in the area. And on occasion, I will read about activities of this board or other public officials with Calaveras County. And I will sometimes call the board members individually or the public official and say, I read somewhere in the whatever newspaper it was that you said such and such and such and such. And most of the time, the response I get is that it was inaccurately reported or was taken out of context or I was misinterpreted. So what I saw last Friday in the Stockton Record, and I don't know if those of you saw this, this is the second section of the Stockton Record, in the back end of, back page, and they don't have this every day, but this particular day, there's a highlight at the very top of the page that says, quote of the day. This is where they put the ridiculous and outrageous quotes. And unfortunately, it's attributed to a Calaveras County official. It says, I think the neighbors should be happy that he's doing that and not putting in a rendering plant. And it says, Calaveras County Planning Commissioner Ted Alleyred on a businessman's plan to build a shooting range in an industrial area near Valley Springs. I couldn't believe that, knowing Mr. Alleyred as an intelligent person and an experienced planning commissioner, that he would actually say that. So I watched the video on television of the meeting, and sure enough, Mr. Alleyred said that. So this is one time where the paper, at least in my mind, and hopefully Mr. Alleyred's mind, got it right. Now what baffles me is that why a planning commissioner, any planning commissioner, who's responsible for making major land use decisions in this county would say something like this to someone who took the time and made the effort to appear and comment on a proposal before the Planning Commission. It's a threatening and intimidating comment designed in my mind to inhibit public comments on applications before the Commission. And I resent that because I think public comment should be encouraged. And this sort of thing should not go on. It's like saying, and I'm not quoting Mr. Alleyred, it's like saying, stop your complaining, we could do worse to you. And this is not something public officials should be doing. And this comment came after the applicant was allowed to continue his presentation supporting his project by the Planning Commission after it had closed the public comment period. And the process had already been tainted, and this didn't help any. If the planning commissioners have preconceived ideas, they should keep it to themselves. And they should not discourage people, the general public, to come up and comment on a project application. And I think that this board, because Mr. Alleyred is appointed by this board, should rebuke Mr. Alleyred and direct him to make a public apology at the next commission meeting. Thank you.
Are there any other public comments? If so, please come forward.
Good morning. My name is Jeannie Hayward, and I'm the program director at the Resource Connection Food Bank. And I just wanted to come and announce today that we're opening the Rotary Community Garden at the food bank on Friday. This Friday, I'd like to invite you and the community to attend. The Rotary has come together, all 4 Rotaries have come together and built the garden. It's gorgeous, and plots are in, and bring plants. We're inviting community groups to come and participate. Anybody in the community, gardeners, wannabe gardeners, anybody that is interested in teaching or learning about gardening to come. We'll also have clients signing up. And then also I want to introduce Krista Thompson because we're partnering with a group that she's involved with.
Krista Thompson, Mental Health Services Act Coordinator for Behavioral Health Services. I'm just very excited about this partnership that we've forged with the food bank and their garden. This has given us the opportunity to allow the people that we serve to participate in the cultivation of this garden and the harvest. And this is something we've done for a few years now and with great success. And it's really wonderful to see people who struggle in our community really flourish the way these gardens do, and really find that confidence, and even vocational skills that have helped our consumers really succeed in even these tough economic times. And so we're very excited about that. And I just want to echo Jeannie's comments that we would love to see everyone come and participate in this. It's good for everyone's mental health. So what time is this?
9 o'clock.
It'll be at 9 o'clock till noon. And so if anybody has any questions, please feel free to call the food bank directly. I believe they're in the book. And if anyone has questions about our participation, we would love to talk about how great it's been to work with the food bank, and they can call me directly. Thank you.
Thank you.
How many seed starts do you need? Is the need great?
The need is great.
We got a whole greenhouse full of stuff that could be used.
Love to invite you.
All right.
Great, thank you.
Again, what day?
Friday, this Friday.
Tom, you're a member of Rotary. Did you contribute to the garden?
No, I didn't. But I told him to expect a donation from Gary Tofanelli in my name. Apparently it hasn't been received yet. Any other public comments? Please come forward.
My name is Kelly Zonizer. I work in Public Works Department, and I'm here today to announce the annual Calaveras County Hazardous Household Waste Collection events, which will be happening this weekend on the 11th and 12th. On Saturday, June 11th, we will be holding an event in Arnold from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. That'll be at the Arnold Maintenance Yard. Also the same day, we will be holding an event in San Andreas here at the Government Center, also from 9 to 1. And then on Sunday, we'll be out in West Point, and Supervisor Walensky, Cindy specifically asked me to remind you to get the word out for that event. She said that you're very good at that and that you'll be able to take care of getting the word out. That'll also be from 9 to 1 on Sunday at the Caltrans Yard on Highway 12.
That's this coming Sunday?
This coming Sunday. Be there or be square.
Thank you. Other public comments, please come forward.
Peter Race, Rancho Calaveras. One of my pet peeves that I picked on you folks a couple of weeks ago about seeking grant for the light bulbs, CFL light bulbs. I want to have this little few pages over here. I want to bring it to your attention, the public's attention, that Canada and England putting restrictions on it, because both in the United States, Canada, England, and Europe in general, there's complaint about headaches, skin burns, rashes, neurological problem caused by CFLs because they emit ultraviolet radiation, electrical and magnetic field emission, or dirty energy. These includes autoimmune diseases such as lupus and those that have sensitive skin. The point I'm trying to make is that at best you can say that hey, there's some problem with that garbage. Okay, they're putting it beside all the other ideological problem that manufactured overseas by a company that doesn't pay any taxes but gets free ride on Air Force One and so on. But the bottom line is, by putting your employees and the public in general, by not telling the whole consequences and forcing them to do something that could be potentially harmful to them, is not very sincere, and taking away their options to purchase something that does not fit into a certain ideological or agenda policy. So anyway, I want to submit this to you folks. You notice, and hopefully nothing ever happens, but if something happens, it's your butts. Thank you very much, folks.
Thank you. Now,
Al-Sagala Taxpayer Association again. I'd like to thank the Planning Commission. They did the right thing in approving that shooting range. The reason why they did the right thing was because they found that the public was protected and the neighbors were protected. And the person had a right to use their property. It also, I think, it also helped our economy and sent a signal that it's okay to build in our county. Now, regarding the light bulbs, I wonder what kind of light bulbs they have in Washington, D.C. And if this causes mental problems, that would explain how they're handling the budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Al. Any other public comments? Please come forward.
Good morning, Marty Crane, Valley Springs, Rancho. So many exciting things happening lately. I wrote it out so I won't get off track. Calaveras, rain or shine. 3 events, Kids Day, Savor the Flavor, and our Mark Twain St. Joseph's Hospital Summer Health Fair were Saturday. In the 16-year history of Kids Day, it has never rained. So we were feeling pretty confident, you know. Apparently there's a first for everything, but still, fun was had by all. Just like our fabulous music festival last week, thanks to shade frames, those who wanted to get wet did, and those that didn't. Our always generous and community-minded area businesses and the resilience of the Kids Day Music Festival, Savor the Flavor, Mark Twain St. Joseph's Hospital, Holiday Parade, and Kite Festival teams were once again a tribute to what it means to be a community with a heart. Thanks to all who come out to support these wonderful events. Remember all the fun and occasional mud surfing at the powwow? Remember how many times our Valley Springs Holiday Parade started with rain and the sun appeared just in time? Most of the time. Last week's music festival moved from soft rain throughout the day to one of those incredible rainbows we so often see here in the foothills. Saturday following the Kids Day and the Savor the Flavor events, there was yet another rainbow, just trying to push through for a well-deserved applause. Sunday was June 5th, and that could only mean Kite Day in San Andreas. All it requires is no rain and a little breeze, and it looked to be a perfect day to go fly a kite. So we did. It was fabulous. I didn't fly a kite, but it was a fabulous day. All this is a little reminder that we seem to be a rain or shine community. So please, let's not believe everything we hear on Facebook about Kids Day or anything else being canceled. Today there are 3 young citizens who would beg to differ with you. They are over the top with excitement at having won a brand new bike and helmet at Kids Day, thanks to our Jenny Lynn Fire Department. And the easygoing casual Kite Day event, with its fabulous music filling the air on a picture-perfect day, would have everyone feeling grateful for the opportunity to live in Calaveras County. Most of us here in the foothills have learned to dress for the weather and just join in the fun. These are open invitations to all, and that is a big part of what community is all about. So we want to remind you to just stay safe and be happy. And this is brought to you today by the Valley Springs Optimist Club, Jim Sullivan, Carol Beck Crosby, Casey Cooper Pipes, Marilyn Noriad, Max Fountain, Chris Fountain, Mary DeWitt, Mary Ash, Jane Duran, Vicki Hinkle, and myself, Marty Crane. So have a wonderful day. Go fly a kite.
Thank you. I hope you didn't mean that literally. Any other public comments? If so, please come forward.
Say again? I've given Mr. Spellman one a moment ago, so there's 4 for the board members. Okay? I didn't make an extra for you. Is that okay? I'll make one for you if you want. I've got a printer. David Tuno, Rancho Calaveras. This is on the issue of FEMA failing to get this issue on an agenda as an agenda item. This is my next best approach to it. I've given you a report. I've made the report available, and I'm making it available to the media. So electronically, various attachments to it. It's kind of extensive. And I don't normally read a presentation, but I'll do it this time so that it's all on the record. In March of this year, I presented the board with a research article, which was also published and online, on examples of FEMA's floodplain designations in Calaveras County with analysis and recommendations for board and public actions. I outlined FEMA's motives in greatly expanding the flood insurance pool, and its strong-arm tactics in dealing with counties and property owners. I showed examples of properties placed in the floodplain that couldn't possibly flood, and I outlined the abuses of FEMA's monopoly power. Since then, I have continued researching the subject and aimed my activities at procuring actions from Congressman Dan Lundgren's office to the benefit of property owners in this county and throughout the 3rd District. In April, 3 members of this board attended a meeting with the Congressman's aide, that's Bob Ehlert, also a representative from FEMA, and the Corps of Engineers at the Congressman's office. News accounts of that meeting touted a particular result, that being that FEMA had agreed to, quote, redo the county flood map using more accurate topographical data. Now, knowing from a meeting that I had attended in January, on January 26th, right over here in the county office, with some of the same attendees at that FEMA meeting, that they had already agreed, FEMA had already agreed to, quote, redo the map. I saw no progress from the April meeting, barring other possible concessions to which the public was not made aware. Further, continued research into the problems with FEMA led me to understand that after protests from officials and citizens, and this is around the country, agreeing to redo flood maps in the same way FEMA represented to our county, has been a stock FEMA response nationwide. And I can find no evidence of that action resulting in any actual change. Instead, it appears to be primarily a delaying tactic while FEMA continues to collect flood insurance premiums. A presentation that I made based upon my article, speech presentation, slideshow, a while back was attended by Dixon Collins of Angels Camp, who convinced Lundgren to schedule a meeting in May, again with Bob Ehlert and FEMA, and this is in spite of the April meeting that I just previously described. The day after I made the same presentation to the West Calaveras County Rotary Club, during which I mentioned the upcoming meeting with Ehlert, with the Lundgren's office, that meeting was abruptly canceled by Bob Ehlert. Undeterred, I focused my efforts directly on Congressman Lundgren, circumventing his office in effect, and through continued research also learned what this county's Board of Supervisors can do. Attached to the report are several articles that I found on the internet. Some show actions by congressional representatives and senators whose efforts I hope Congressman Lundgren will support and duplicate in this district and beyond.
You have 30 seconds.
I thought I had 5 minutes.
Yeah, 30 seconds left.
That was 5 minutes? Really?
30 seconds from now is.
Well, thank you for the warning. I guess time flies when you're having a great time, huh? Listen, folks, in the public, this report is being made public through the media, and I encourage them to read about it. It'll be available. I will make it available to anyone who wants it. David@tuno.com is all you have to do. You'll get the full report. And other than that, I thank you for your time. I will tell you what the bottom line is for this county, is that it followed the lead of other counties in this nation in suing FEMA on behalf of the citizens. Can be done. It's been done. Over the past several years, I point in particular to 3 counties that joined together in southwest Illinois, under the leadership of Congressman Jerry Costello, and those boards of supervisors. They are not laying down, they're not taking it, they're fighting back.
You need to wrap it up, David.
And with that, I'll encourage people to read about this. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, David. Any other public comments? If so, please come forward.
David, would you like me to finish reading your
Okay, I am closing off public comments.
I may read the rest of his letter.
No, we don't do that.
I am allowed to comment on anything that falls under the board's jurisdiction.
No, but we don't allow people to
You can't
continue with other people's comments.
No, because if this is what I want to say, I have a right to say that.
Okay, County Council, weigh in.
The board, the chair has the authority to avoid circumventing the time rule by attempts to avoid circumventing the time rule by.
I'm not circumventing the time rule. I'm expressing.
Well, no, we've never allowed people just to allow other people then to continue reading their thing, and then the next person does it for 5 minutes, and then we just go on forever, and it defeats the purpose of having a limit.
Except for it's free speech, and it's a topic which I am also concerned about. This is also a topic I believe in, and so
I'll just ask the board, what's the board's direction? Because my direction would be is not to allow it to be passed on. But I will, what's the board's wish?
I'll support that.
Support the chair's determination, or you would like to? Okay.
If she would like to just make general comments about her opinion, she can, but not to do the pass on. We've gone over this process and multiple times over the years.
I'm going to disagree with that, and I would like to let her do it. I sat here in a political rally when you were chair, Rita, and it was passed and passed and passed and passed, and you allowed it even when somebody stood up and said they only get 5 minutes, and you allowed it to go on. So no, I'm in favor of it.
Okay, Darren and Steve, where are you?
Go ahead, Darren. I listened to myvalleysprings.com last year during the campaign go through a thick packet that took almost an hour with about 20 people all reading their 5 minutes worth. So I understand that there needs to be a rule put in place, but until such time that there is, you know, there's not one rule for one group of people and another rule for another. So if the direction of the board is such that we don't want to see this type of exercise taking place anymore, then we need to develop a board policy to deal with it. But at such time, there is no board policy, and I had to sit through an hour's worth of 20 people giving their 5 minutes each on a long report. So if Ms. Dawson wants to continue with Mr. Tuno's report for 5 minutes, I'm willing to allow it.
Okay, it comes down to you. You're the
third
vote.
My take is that there is a free speech issue, and that people, part of free speech is having to listen to things we don't like. I don't appreciate the folks who called it a political rally before. I thought that it was okay for people to say things even if you didn't like to hear it. And I feel the same then, and I feel the same now. Whether or not I agree or disagree, the right to free speech is pretty thoroughly outlined in our Constitution, the Bill of Rights, all litigations that have happened. Unless you're going to yell fire in a crowded theater, I think you're pretty much okay to go. I support the right to say what you came to say,
okay.
whatever it is.
Finish reading the letter.
Well, I think she has
that's
that
fine.
right.
He wants her to proceed. There's 3 votes to proceed. Please proceed.
Thank you. As for the actions this board can take directly on behalf of its citizens, I call your attention to the articles that describe suits brought against FEMA by several counties. Collectively, the stories reveal much of the same analysis as in my March article. With respect to the suit filed by the counties of St. Clair, Madison, and Monroe, Illinois, Costello's district, I call to Les Sturman, Chief Supervisor of the Southwest Illinois Flood Prevention District Council, was very informative. It revealed that attempts by those counties to force FEMA to reveal its engineering methodology failed inasmuch as FEMA could show no engineering methodology, just as they apparently have none upon which to support their flood designations in our county. I encourage this board to make contact with Mr. Sturman and the individuals knowledgeable about that suit. I'm sure the call would be well received. So too would be the call to Finney County, Kansas. Elected leaders in those counties have taken an active, not passive interest in the problems FEMA is causing their residents and businesses. Though many of the specific flood issues in those regions differ from our own, the underlying rationale for this suit is the same. FEMA is greatly expanding the flood insurance pool without competing engineering or any engineering to justify its flood maps, thus fraudulently forcing thousands in this county and millions nationwide to purchase flood insurance they do not need in order to replenish the billions of dollars FEMA has previously lost. It appears that FEMA's schedule has resulted in western states feeling the effects long after eastern states. As described in 2 of the attached articles, this piecemeal approach to FEMA has worked to its advantage in that it has contributed to an absence of organized opposition. The flip side of that effect is that we in the West have the advantage of observing the histories other counties have had with FEMA. FEMA's behavior has been consistent and it will not change until it's forced to change. No one likes litigation, with the possible exception of attorneys. However, the above county officials have taken that bold but necessary action to protect their citizens against a powerful federal bureaucracy the citizens cannot realistically fight on their own. That is a legitimate role of county government, and one might argue it is also its job. For that reason, I ask this board to take the same action, sue FEMA. As mentioned above, I believe Calaveras County would find friends in other 5 counties who are leading by example. Their suits could be the model of ours. More counties taking that action will produce even more interest in reforming FEMA at the federal level, the result of which could well be dispositive of the various suits at the state level. In addition to, and in parallel with that action, I'd like this board to reject FEMA's flood maps, including the one they will allegedly produce with more detailed topographical data, inasmuch as the topographical data was never the problem. In so doing, it is recognized that FEMA is authorized to deny flood insurance to all county residents, even those with actual flood risk exposure. See the explanation below. There are 2 points to consider in that regard. The first is that this board should not sacrifice the millions of dollars of unnecessary flood insurance premiums from thousands of property owners fraudulently placed in the flood zones in order to protect the needs of the far fewer owners who actually need it. Additionally, while the National Flood Insurance Act of 1968 and the Flood Disaster Protection Act of 1973 presumably empower FEMA to deny coverage where a county does not cooperate with FEMA, there is at least the question as to whether FEMA would so deny it. In that eventuality, those who need it and want it can purchase it from an overseas underwriter, like Lloyd's of London, albeit probably a higher rate, not subsidized rates. Secondly, the legality of provisions of those acts, which together empower FEMA to both force and purchase of insurance and deny that same service under the above scenario, has never been challenged in court. If so, I believe both would fail, and the denial provision is the far weaker of the 2. Such a denial would also send up a red flag that Congress cannot ignore. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? If so, please come forward. That concludes public comments. We'll move forward to our 9:30 a.m. Regular agenda item 7.
I'd like to make a comment on that.
On what?
On that. On the public.
Oh, excuse me. Okay. Please proceed.
Before we move on to our next agenda item, I would like to thank Mr. Tuno for bringing this forward. The erroneous flood mapping issues that have been taking place in our county not only affect District 5, which I'm elected to represent in a lopsided amount compared to the rest of the county, but all of our county is affected in some way. I mean, even downtown Mountain Ranch is designated as a flood zone, which is completely ridiculous. But what I would say in regards to this, and I would encourage Mr. Tuno and those who are working with him to pursue Congressman Lundgren. What you've pointed out here in this report is that these counties in Illinois were successful or are finding success in their attempts at reforming the FEMA scheme with the support of their Congressman Jerry Costello of Illinois. I found no such support with our Congressman Dan Lundgren, even though I've approached his office and him personally many times to help with this issue. He is a senior congressman, sits on the board of Homeland Security, which is the umbrella which FEMA operates under, and he has done absolutely nothing to help his constituents in this regard. So anything that I can do as a county supervisor to help in that regard, I'd be more than willing to, and you can contact me on it.
Any other board comments? Okay, we will move forward then to item 7, a resolution recognizing James Bishop of Ebbets Pass Fire Search and Rescue. This is a board action. Who is the lead person on this? Is this you, Marita?
Is the change made? Thank you. This will be presented to him this weekend, so I just want to move this item.
Okay, would you like to make a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion, I have a second. Further board discussion, public discussion. All in favor, so indicate by stating aye. 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 Opposed? Passes on a 5-0 vote of the board. Move forward to item 8, informational presentation. The Calaveras County Economic Development Company is going to go over their release of the Calaveras County profile. So, David, are you the spokesman for the development company?
Spokesperson.
Oh.
Thank you, David.
Have we all been neutered by Marita now?
Settle down.
We have a harassment class, Tom, that's mandatory. I've signed you up several times.
Is it no-show?
And recognizing both genders shouldn't make anybody feel neutered. Unless they're real insecure.
I think I'm going to talk to his daughter.
Good morning. My daughter would recognize that David's a man. She took sexual education in high school at Bret Hart.
David, did I read you're going to do this to the city council tonight, too?
That's correct.
Thank you.
You mean present this?
Good morning. My name is Dave Haley. I'm here to represent the Calaveras County Economic Development Company. We're announcing today the release of first edition of the Calaveras County Profile. The profile is available on the EDC website starting today, along with printed bound copies. Also included in the profile that I just handed out to you is a copy of today's press release that we'll be giving to the press, and the rack card to help guide people to the EDC website. The profile is designed to facilitate action to attract new businesses to our county, enhance existing businesses, along with informing existing and future residents of the attributes and reasons to live and work in our county. The profile promotes our county by providing insightful and meaningful information. The profile focuses on our county's strengths, location, character, and opportunities. It is our opinion that now is the time to promote our county. Lead time is required to increase business activity as we work to change the current economic downturn into a positive direction. We think the profile will be a very useful tool for the Calaveras County Chamber of Commerce and the community business associations in their efforts to attract and enhance businesses. I would like to thank Jeannie Boyce for serving on the EDC board, and the county departments and many citizens and businesses that contributed to input or financial contributions. The profile is a good example of a successful public-private partnership. I'd also like to recognize the financial contributors to the profile. It's Bear Valley Mountain Resort, Rosie Sondell, Calaveras Lumber and Hardware, Mike Fullaway, Castle and Cook, Dave Haley, Central Sierra Electric Company, Cliff Franklin, Gold Electric, Jim Harryford, Ironstone Winery, John Couts, Mark Twain St. Joseph Hospital, Larry Cornish, Morrissey Ranch, Dr. Jim Morrissey, Rabo Bank, Ron Ashwaunden, Rancheria del Rio Estanislaw, Bob Brunker, Tuscany Hills, Tom Hicks, Village Mart, John Brulacher. The EDC Board of Directors are Larry Cornish from Mark Twain St. Joseph Hospitals, Ron Ashwaunden with Rabo Bank, Jeannie Boyce, Calaveras County, John Couts, Ironstone Vineyards, Mary Kelly, City of Angels Camp, Lisa Mayo, Executive Director of the Visitors Bureau, Roger Piddle, past President of the Chamber of Commerce, and Paul Stein, Board Member of the Calaveras Community Foundation. Our project manager for this was Patricia Jones. Unfortunately for her, she's on vacation. And Jim Clan and Ellen Baldwin of Foothill Printing. Laura Bawley is our webmaster, and Steve Arola is our legal counsel. We plan on working with all of the business associations and the Chamber of Commerce to facilitate business activity in our county, and we're very proud of the effort that we put forth in this profile. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Any public comments on this item? If so, please come forward.
Rancho Calaveras. I hope you folks having a good time reading it, because I just wonder why, if it was on the agenda, the only thing we got is a front page of it, but no details. Maybe you feel comfortable. I mean, I endorse the idea of doing this, and I want to compliment the folks who put money and time and effort into it, both on behalf of the county and private institution. But it would be nice if you put it on the agenda, put the actual material available on the agenda also, not just the front page of it. I know you folks are very quick reader and analyzer, but before you endorse something, it would be nice to know what the hell you're endorsing. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Any other public comments?
We're not here to ask for an endorsement. We're here to make a presentation, right, and we're proud to do so. Right.
Any other public comments?
Well, just quickly in response to that, I do understand from Dave's presentation that he's prepared to distribute this to anybody who would like, electronically or otherwise. And I'm assuming this is for information purposes.
That's correct.
All right.
Any other public comments? I'm bringing it back to the board. Any board comments? Staff comments?
I do.
Darren?
I'd like to thank Dave and in behalf of all those people who spent time and effort compiling this information for the Calaveras County Economic Development information that we have here. I think that this is going to be very vital in helping us promote the strengths of our county. I think this addresses the things that are most important to people here. Continually we have people come before this board and tell them that they want the ability to generate economic revenue for jobs and prosperity in our county. They also continually tell us that they want things that will not take away from the integrity of our environment and the rural lifestyle that we enjoy. And I believe that the things that are included in here promote activities and businesses that would help us to progress towards that goal, both of greater economic prosperity and continuing to encapsulate and promote our well-being in terms of our environment and our rural lifestyle, which I think is very important. And I've mentioned on many such occasions that we could look at Napa County or others similar to that as examples of people who have brought prosperity to their county without sacrificing the environment and those things that make our county special. So my hat's off to all the people that were involved in this. I look forward to perusing the pages with enthusiasm and look forward to promoting along with those other people in this effort to bring more prosperity to our county.
Wait a minute, I'm at the board.
Yeah, just a quick comment. These are some of the best pictures I've seen in combination in Calaveras County in a long time, and nicely done. But I want to especially call out this classic picture of Phil Alberts, who I think deserves the recognition and sort of does express the Blue Mountain community's character in one single photo. Thank you.
Any other board comments?
I have a question, but I can go after Al.
Go ahead, Al. I closed off public comments, but go ahead.
Calaveras County Taxpayer Association. I've looked at this. I'm quite impressed with this. But what I'm most impressed with this is not taken with plundered money. There's no tax money putting this thing together. And that is amazing. And that could also be a good model for other communities. Good job. Thank you.
Okay, any other public comments? Because I'm going to close it off. Okay, I'm closing off public comments. It's back to the board. It's an informational item only. I'll give my comments just from looking at it, David. It appears to be a very impressive document. So I compliment you. I'll go home and read it between looking at the budget tonight.
It'll be more enjoyable.
I think you guys did an outstanding job, and you did it on your own, and that's probably why it's outstanding. So any other board comments?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
David,
please. I'm sorry.
How do you plan on using this? I mean, I know it was discussed when you asked the county for money, but I mean, I'm interested in how you plan on marketing this.
Well, first of all, we have a website which will be active in making changes, and it is on the website for downloading in addition to other information. We will be working with the Calaveras County Chamber of Commerce and all the business associations, supplying them copies for their efforts in attracting businesses. We will provide them to businesses that are in the business of attracting businesses, whether it be lenders or real estate agents or so on, or through anybody that has the desire to enhance our community. Yeah, also department heads, whether it be planning department, Angels Camp, also, and
Visitors
Bureau. Visitors Bureau was a deep part of this effort. So, and Lisa's in the audience today.
No, I think planning's a good idea. Many people start out there.
It's a good document. I will say, however, your circle and distances, the distances aren't accurate.
Well, yes, they are.
Pleasanton's exactly 100 miles from Angels Camp, because I broke down there once in my 3A tow cart. I was good for 100 miles, and it was about, I was about a half mile short, and we broke down at the Stone Ridge Mall.
And that's because he pushed the car back.
Those distances are an arc circle from a pinpoint, so they are accurate. And
well, from Angels Camp to Pleasanton, it's exactly 100 miles, and you have it basically at 75 miles. 100 miles takes you down below San Jose. And it's not a big deal, but
there are a couple of minor details. Unfortunately, we got Valley Springs website wrong. It's valleyspringsaba.com instead of just .com. We're going to correct that.
Anyway,
we apologize for
I don't think it's way off, but it's probably 25 miles off.
Congratulations, David, to you and all your board.
I hope this document isn't what made your hair turn gray.
Okay. It's been a couple years in making.
Okay, that's item 8. We completed item 8. We'll move forward to item 9. Also an informational presentation, the Upper McCollum River Watershed Joint Powers Authority. So I think we have the Executive Director. Sir, if you'd come forward, state your name for the record, and we're happy to have you with us today. And what's happening on the McCollum?
It's good to be back. I'm Rob Alcott, the Executive Officer for the Upper McCollum River Watershed Authority. It's been 10 years and it doesn't get any easier to pronounce the title. It was about a year ago I was in front of you, and I believe we spent about 45 minutes walking through a pretty thorough presentation on UMRA's history and what the issues of the day were, and looking forward and trying to resolve some budget issues that we were confronting this past year. In speaking with Jeannie before today's meeting, in which she encouraged me to come, she suggested perhaps we don't need a full-blown presentation today. I put this agenda item together with Jeannie's and her staff's assistance, and it pretty much lays out the budget issues that UMRA has been working through over the past few months. If you will, I'll just kind of walk through a couple high points in the agenda item, and to the extent you have some questions, I'll do my best to answer them for you. So you recall last year we were a little bit late in the year trying to reconcile some differences. The member agencies, of which there are 9, had different attitudes and different resources available to them to contribute to UMRA's budget. And everything worked out well, and everybody was able to find the resources necessary to sustain the budget for another year. But it was a little bit of a, if you will, an inefficient process. And so this year we're are taking a little bit of initiative to develop what we're calling a budget policy and procedure, which takes away some of the uncertainty and gives me as the staff person a little guidance on how to approach the budgeting every year. So one of the things that's in the agenda item today is a draft budget policy and procedure for UMRA. It's one page. It's certainly not rocket science, but it is helpful to staff when they're working for a board that's made up of members that get together on a quarterly basis. It gives some direction. So that's here today. It's been vetted through the UMRA board once, and it's been distributed to the member agencies, including yourselves, for any comments you might have. And then secondly, the agenda item includes a tentative budget that's been endorsed by the UMRA board for discussion purposes. Since it seems to be no more important point to be made these days is, how much money is being asked for. So the way the budget is organized and presented here, the contribution from Calaveras County is $4,810 for this coming year. If you would just turn to the budget page, which is the last page of this 5 or 6 page item. I'll just point out a couple of things here. And actually, let me just take your attention away from this page now that I put it there. Because let me just, a couple things that I discussed with you last time were prospective activities that UMRA was poised to undertake. Both of them were grant related, and the reason I want to just give a quick highlight now is because the numbers are in this budget. And so the planning grant that UMRA applied for last year, $250,909, has been approved by DWR. We're in the final stages of contracting for that. There are 2 specific tasks that will be undertaken by UMRA over the next 2 years. One is the update of what we call the MAC plan. MAC is an acronym for McCollum, Amador, and Calaveras. It's our water resources plan developed initially in 2006. The state's come up with some new criteria, and they're giving us money to update the plan, which will meet new state requirements as well as give us an opportunity to improve a stakeholder process that received some criticism 5 years ago. It also gives us an opportunity to update the projects that are in the plan, which should set us up for future rounds of grant funding, presuming there continues to be a state of California and there continues to be money available. So the MAC plan update is a big item that'll be initiated probably in August or September. Another item that will be separately managed is what we're calling the development of a collaborative decision-making plan. And it's, I believe you all have had some conversations about a project called IRA Cup. It's an interregional conjunctive use project. The water agencies have been talking about it for 5 or 6 years as part of what's called the McCollum Forum process, but there's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of poor definition of what the project is. So one of the things that the grant is funding is a separate stakeholder process for folks to sit down and explain from their agency's perspectives what interest they would have in this water resource project and what kind of consequences they want to see avoided or minimized. This is a typical conversation about a water resource project. There are agencies that need water supply in order to meet their obligations as water utilities, and then there are recreationists that are concerned about the impacts of a water resource project on their ability to fish in a river, and there are environmental groups that are concerned about the adverse consequences of those projects. So this project that we are going to undertake is a facilitated discussion between those stakeholders and see if everybody can get on the same page to have a facilitated discussion and technical analysis that defines what that project is. And the goal is to come up with a definition of a project that everybody agrees with, or at least everybody can live with. So That's a tall order. I don't know if we'll get there or not, but we've got funding, and we will be hiring a professional facilitator to manage that process, and that'll be about a 15 or 17-month process that will also get underway probably beginning in August. And I'll separately be in touch with Jeannie, who will be in touch with you, because Calaveras County will obviously be one of the key stakeholders, and we'll be approaching you about your participation. So those are the two big planning kind of related efforts. The other good news we just got about a week ago is I presented last time a list of 4 different implementation projects, as we call them. One of them, the one in Calaveras County, is a little over $1.4 million to build a new central water storage tank and a new transmission line for the West Point community. We got word last week that we had asked for $2.7 million, and the state is recommending that we receive $2.3 million. So we have a little ways to go to get this under contract, but presuming that the recommendations stand, we should be in a position later in this year to wrap up that agreement, which in turn, UMRA will be like a go-between agency. We'll be taking that $2.3 million and allocating the 1.4 to CCWD to build the West Point project, and there are other dollars that will go to Amador Water Agency for a couple of projects, and perhaps some money if we've got to work through this issue. The state's proposing to award us 2.3 out of 2.7. The 4th project on our list was a regional project down near Lake Comanche that East Bay Mud would be the lead agency. But we don't have enough money to do all the projects we proposed, so we'll be working through a process to figure out how to reconcile that shortfall of money, and that'll be presented to the UMRA board at an upcoming meeting. So those are the kind of the big ticket items that UMRA's involved with and will be involved with in the coming year. And so if I can draw your attention back to the budget, it'll make a little more sense. One of the things we're doing for the first time this year is we are crediting member agencies with in-kind services that they provide during the year. I'm the only staff person for the organization. The legal services are provided by Amador County Council, and all the accounting and treasury and control services all are provided by East Bay Mud. Historically, those costs have never been tracked, and in some discussions last year in conjunction with the budget, it was suggested that all costs be identified and be, evaluated as part of the budgeting process. And the budget policy that I mentioned a moment ago specifies that will be a practice that will continue in the future. So, in looking at the 2 tables on this page, the top table is the tentative budget, and you'll see to the right side there are 3 different columns. One is the budget will be funded by member funds. That typically is the one that gets the most attention because that's coming out of either the water agencies or the county's general funds. The second column is the one that everybody gets excited about, so long as we have dollars shown there, and those are the grant funds. And then the total budget is shown in the final column. So you'll see there's $80,200 worth of member funded budget and about $273,000 of grant funded activities. And if you look and the table below of the $80,200 that would be member agency responsibilities, $24,700 is in-kind services, and those in-kind services, again, for the county council and East Bay Mud's accounting services and the annual audit that East Bay Mud pays for. And so when you do the math here, you'll see the member share due, and then the $4,800 that we would propose to the Calaveras board for your contribution for the coming fiscal year, which for us begins October 1st. So that's as much of a nutshell I can create here. I don't need to be any more long-winded than that.
Okay, thank you. Steve, I'll go to Steve next. Steve's our representative on the on your board. So Steve, do you want to give any additional comments, and then I'll open it up for board and public discussion?
Yes, just a couple of things. This 4,800 that we have is the second markdown. Actually, we've had several iterations of this. It came to us at over 10,000. I think it was 12 at the high end of these discussions. There has been serious review of that. We conveyed our choking sounds when we heard that, and I believe there's
very effectively, by the way.
There's been a good faith set of adjustments. They'll be able to maintain the work at really 1/3 the original anticipated cost of the county. And secondly, given the success of assisting the CCWD in taking care of a huge infrastructure deficit, the couple of $1 million that came in seems like this is a pretty good bang for the buck. There's almost no organization that's trying to coordinate. We present ourselves as a county in 10 different water districts and companies and agencies. This is the only group that seems to be able to put together an overall strategy and be able to get some portion of it funded, and so I certainly appreciate that. Left to these different separate organizational efforts, this would never happen. And so I think it's well worth the investment. I appreciate the effort that they're taking to try to put all these water interests together in one room. I think it's bold, courageous, and semi-suicidal, but I think it's worth.
You didn't mention stupid.
It's throwing history to the wind, and boldly going where no water folks have gone before.
You only have one forehead to give, right? You just keep bumping against the wall. Eventually the wall's going to crack, right?
Any other board comments?
I'm glad to hear that I'm not the only one that has out of the box, contentious ideas to bring forward, and I applaud the efforts of the people involved in this. I mean, to think that we're going to be able to realize a capital improvement for the community of West Point in that part of our county that has an extreme need for infrastructure improvement by means of the people involved in this program is very impressive to me, and I'm proud to hear about your efforts. So, thank you.
Well,
other board comments? I'll open it to the public. Are there any public comments? If so, please come forward. What? You have a comment?
I did, but not anymore.
I think Gary had a comment. Well, go ahead. I mean,
no, go ahead.
This certainly affects your...
Yeah, I mean, we're going to come back to the board for final comments, so it's all right. Peter, go ahead.
Thank you. Peter Reyes, Rancho Calaveras. Hopefully that when gentleman has a chance, I would like to know, give me a little bit more description of a school watershed program. There's a nice chunk of money going to that. But what I want everybody, especially you folks, to realize that the Calaveras County's total donation to it, not just the county, CCWD, and so on, is $16,040. It would be nice if just going over, but it's going to be a grant. If I ever get in a position, and maybe in the future I will, I want definite identification of the grant, the sources of the grant, and the total cost of the grant. Because it sounds real good, we're going to get a grant, but who's going to pay for the grant? And the explanation of the, hey, it's been sold, but it's been sold for temporarily. But this has to be paid back. What interest? And it's you folks, elected officials, doing it on behalf, not just your present constituents. You're doing all these big favors of getting 6 cents back on the dollar of future generations benefit. So I definitely would like to, hopefully, if you don't, I will, the cost identified, the source of the fund, and the conditions attached to it, because I've been looking into something with what's happening with the water, and there's some pretty hefty powers putting conditions on it, because we have to begin. We are water rich. This county is one of the most well-blessed water resources, and though we have heard noises that we should share it with some of our southern neighbors, it's very nice of them, and we should share it with San Joaquin County, that's very nice of them, but my generosity is limited as far as keeping my brothers in some of the southern counties. And some of the same thing with the Delta. They have nice programs for us in this county. And all those grants that we're getting, there's little strings attached to it. And I know you folks will know all the little details, but it would be nice to share all those details with the public. Because why you say, hey, I'm doing you a big favor. But those little favors comes with some heavy strings, folks. And so the total county cost to participate in this thing comes out to $16,040 for the county. And maybe it's well worth it. It's a very noble idea. But in a couple of minutes later, folks, you're going to be talking about laying off people at the desk, laying off people from the sheriff's department in a fire district. So please think about it real good, because it's going to get bad and it's going to be mentioned often and loud in the very near future, because there are some decisions going to be made, and I know you want to look nice and considerate and thoughtful and shed tears, but your actual voting that's count, not the show we're putting on for that TV. So thank you, but I'd still like to have an answer, a little bit more description of school watershed program, and I believe it goes about $16,000 that's going to be shared by all the different agencies. Thank you.
Okay, well, let's not do it now. Okay, any other public comments? Let's finish the public comments and close.
Alice Gallagher, Association. Here's a brief comment. I picked up from the presentation, which was pretty well done, I thought. It looks like there's a $250,000 grant that came from the state, and I assume that the state taxpayers. It may have come from the federal government, but I'm not sure. And then we have our buzzwords, which sometimes are alarming, you know, like sustainability. We didn't get that one, but we got collaborative decision-making. And that's kind of scary in a way, because this is usually the type of language that's used to relieve people of excessive property rights. And so if the intention of this is to change to bring about a change in the societal form of our government in that area, we need to know in advance what that agenda is, and most especially as it relates to private property in that area. There's so much unknown here for me that due to this language, it kind of indicates transfer of decision-making process from the water district by itself, or for the county by itself, or other agencies by themselves, to a collaborative, and then through a consensus type arrangement, new laws will be put in place which could affect the property rights of the people in that area. So that's the main concern I have, and it is a good presentation.
Any other public comments? If so, please come forward. Seeing none, I'm closing off public comments. I'll bring the discussion back to the board. What I'll do is normally the way we do with our staff people. I'll come back to the board to have some discussion, then I'll ask you up to give your comments. Any additional comments once you hear the board's comments. So are there additional board comments? Steve, I'll start with you.
Sure.
And then I'll go to Gary.
On the question of the school project, this has to do with hundreds of Calaveras kids getting a chance to go into the watershed areas, learn something about what is going on there. They find people dumping trash. Hopefully part of the education is through the kids to not do that anymore. They also study the wildlife and habitat within the watershed. And they also get a tour of the water storage facilities and get an introduction to California's water system. The project that goes into the schools primarily, that's where the kids come out to the watershed. But what also happens is that a number of classrooms devote themselves to raising salmon from eggs. They get fish eggs delivered through this project, and they raise them in aquariums, and then they go out and release them into the McCollum River. So that's the other piece of that. There are hundreds of kids. Most of the schools in Calaveras County have some participation in that program, and it seems pretty thrifty. On the property rights aspect, I would say that one of the biggest threats to property rights, and one of the reasons you can buy a house in the West Point area for a song, is the water system is very shaky. It comes out of a redwood tank that is leaking and is in a fire hazard area. The ability that what happened from this particular project, which by the way was not county sponsored, it was CCWD that controls that facility and wanted to do something before a disaster hit and no water was available. But the shaky situation actually does wind up having a less stable property value relating to water and sewer. By the way, we have a lot of backups in sewer, which we hope will someday get fixed up there. But our fire station, our Veterans Hall have frequent backups as a result of problems in the underground system in the area. So this water agency came to the UMRA and said, we don't have the capacity to do this stuff ourselves. Can you help facilitate applications for this from existing funds? And luckily for us, we're successful on that one. As you can see from the projections, they have a number of other projects they hope to do that way. But I have not seen, when Rob uses the word collaborative, what he's saying is that all 10 of these water groups and interested parties get together and start talking together in order for anything to get done around here. A county with only 20-some thousand hookups, having 10 different groups involved in producing this is not operating efficiently, effectively, or with any ability to even maintain what we have, let alone plan for the future in this county. What that means is there's a tremendous vacuum that, as you rightly say, Al, is being taken, and I believe Peter raised this as well, that Stockton East, Los Angeles, many other people would love to, East Bay for that matter, would love to get a hold of this. And for us to manage our water effectively will take a lot more coordination. And maybe that's the word we should be using. We need to coordinate the entities here in this county for our own local interests and defend that in relation to many other folks who are trying to take advantage of our level of disorganization.
Any other board comments? We'll go to Gary.
First, I want to thank Rob for his efforts for this. It's a good job. I appreciate it. Second thing I wanted to talk about was this JPA meetings are open to the public. You can go there when they're, I think we meet 4 times a year, and sometimes we have a 5th meeting, but they're published, the dates and times are posted. It's open to the public. You can give your comments. You can understand more what's going on. If you have questions, I think that's the appropriate time to ask the types of questions that were being asked here today. There's information provided at those meetings to the public on all the agenda items. You should look to attend those if you're interested in any of this stuff that's on the agenda today or spoke about by Rob or the board. The second thing, or the third thing I want to bring up is, and I know it's not really the appropriate time, but I want to put a plug in simply because it was on a consent agenda item earlier that was actually pulled off and we spoke about. There's a small water district in the western portion of the county that's very struggling very hard right now. They're trying to get CCWD to take their operations over, and there's some negotiations going. But part of that was the item that was before us earlier, is forming an assessment district to upgrade their system to get it to a certain level where CCWD would agree to take over. I would like to put forward to UMRA now here that if we could assist them in any way in looking for some funds to get to them to lower their assessment or even get the upgrades done. I think it's a couple $100,000 in what needs to be done. Right now, they're not even producing the water, the discharge water to state levels. They're out of compliance right now. So it's struggling. It's a very small district. Foreclosures have forced a lot of things upon them where they're not getting all of their income, yearly income that they're supposed to maintain that system. So I just want to throw that out, Rob, right now, and I will throw it out at our upcoming meeting. Okay? Thank you.
Any other board comments? Darren?
I'd like to reiterate my thanks again to Rob and those people that have worked on the effort, Supervisor Walensky and Top Family and their part on this project. In terms of education and dealing with the watershed, when I was at Calaveras High School, I participated as a member of the faculty staff at Calaveras High School in several field trips out to the watershed, and those were conducted primarily by Kent Lambert of East Bay Mud. But it was an opportunity for students from Mountain Oaks Charter School, Calaveras High School, and other educational institutions within our county to have an opportunity for students to go out and have a hands-on experience with what a watershed means. I mean, we hear that word a lot, but what does it actually mean? You know, and what goes on there, what things are facilitated by action or inaction in terms of preserving what exists. A very interesting thing, you know, we're all familiar with the name of Valley Springs, you know, as a town or as an area in our county. But, you know, we live in a very dry geographic, you know, topography area. You know, but the reality of it is there are springs, and there's a watershed, an area in the watershed near Pardee where they're conducting scientific studies in which the students have participated in, and I helped participate in that. And we actually, this will be humorous, I'm sure, to some people, but we actually planted elderberry bushes in the study area. But there's an area that's been cordoned off from cattle and other things that would impede on that, so that the natural environment can be studied. And to my amazement, kind of like the Beverly Hillbillies with the bubbling oil coming up, there's a place out there where the water just bubbles up out of the ground. I mean, everything around there is completely dry as a bone, and then there's just, you know, a couple rock formations and water's just gurgling in the middle of, you know, at a time when there's no rain, there's no, you know, it's not a stream or anything like that. It's just a natural spring that comes up. They've cordoned the area off and allowed it to, in an attempt to let it return to its natural state, to be studied, you know, for the natural indigenous plant life as well as animal life and things like that. But that's one of the things, you know, the kids primarily that were involved in that are kids that are in advanced science studies, at least the ones from Calaveras High School. And these are kids that are excited about and have interest in pursuing careers in science and biology and those type of things. And we would hope that by this interaction that perhaps some of them might go and obtain degrees and come back and be able to work for CCWD or East Bay Med or other organizations within our county, that they could return with the knowledge to help us maintain and utilize our natural resources for many generations to come. So the educational component to that is a very important piece.
Other board comments?
I have a question. Rob, I have a question, please.
Come forward, Rob.
The second grant that you're looking at doing on facility discussions and so forth, you mentioned you had two items, an update to the MAC plan, and then another one was facilitating discussion.
Right.
And that sounds like to me a subset of the state water plan, of which Mountain Counties is, it's not a hydraulic region, but it's part of the state water plan. And this sounds like even a further subset of that. I mean, because those are the things they're talking about in the state water plan.
Indeed. The state water plan, I believe it was updated in '09, I believe was the last update.
It's in the process of updating now too. Yes,
Are you
I'm on the state
participating?
water
I remember you and Terry maybe had conversations, Terry Woodrow, about participating on, was it
right.
DWR Advisory Committee?
Right.
Yes. Well, so
this sounds like just a subset of what we're talking about at the state water plan.
It is. In fact, this project, the IR Cup project that this is intended to have a further discussion about is mentioned in the state update, in '09 update. It's basically 1 or 2 pages with a diagram. The whole concept is, everyone, there are a number of interests that don't view construction of new dams very favorably. Of course, in our area, particularly eastern San Joaquin County, through their ill-advised management of their groundwater basin, they've vacated all this storage. Their groundwater levels are going down. Well, it's funny how that works because, well, it's like, oh my goodness to the farmers that live out there because they have to pay more to pump water. It's also an opportunity to store water that you would otherwise typically build in an above-ground storage facility. So this IR Cup project has, I don't want to say SEX, but it has appeal to people that are in the water business because you have the opportunity to not have all the adverse consequences of building storage facilities. If we can figure a way how to get floodwaters, winter flows that exceed the user's needs going down the McCollum River, we can extract those waters and get them into the ground. That's a project that the state likes, everybody likes for lots of different reasons, but it's only got to a diagram. It's a cartoon at this point. And the purpose of this, and it is consistent with and envisioned by the state plan, is to have a discussion, okay, how does this project, what do we need to do to make this project be viewed as a potential reality? And so there are a lot of people that don't like the idea of taking water out of the river. There are a lot of folks that still like the idea of building dams. There are complexities of dealing with the East San Joaquin people. The whole idea is to identify all the potential hurdles for this kind of project in this discussion.
But it will be just focused on East Bay Mud, Amador, and Calavera.
This is right. It's the interests that are basically above Pardee Reservoir. It's the Amador folks, the Calaveras folks, and the East Bay Mud folks would all be, if they choose to participate, those are the people we will ask to participate.
I mean, when you were talking about it, I said I've been hearing, and this is the same thing in the collaborative process of agriculture, the environmental group.
It is. It's
industrial, residential. It's the same thing.
But it's a small geographic area.
Okay.
They're trying to do this down in the Delta, and they're huge. It's a huge process with scores and scores and scores of participants. The thought behind this is it's difficult for the MAC region. I mean, obviously, Calaveras, Amador, and East Bay Mud have differences of opinions about how things should be done. So when we as a region go out and engage in conversations with San Joaquin and elsewhere, we can't come up with a unified front and say, this is what we think from the MAC region. So this is to get our little house in order.
Okay, so if Calaveras County is has a groundwater management plan, I'm assuming Amador does, and I'm not sure of that.
I don't believe they do.
So I guess I was just trying to see if there's a duplication here, or are we going to take Calaveras' groundwater management plan and Amador's?
The individual...
Of course, I guess I should talk to Steve about it. I mean, I was just concerned when you said it. I said I've been hearing these things, and I was trying to get it down to our level on what the purpose was of this.
Well, I think your questions are well taken, and I think there's, and I don't have all the answers for you because the group of people that are going to work on this will provide most of those answers. However, realizing that everybody has a different level of understanding of what IR Cup is and what our situation is. It being proposed for the morning of July 22nd, which is the next ARMR meeting, proposing to the Board Advisory Committee at our meeting on Friday that we do a 90-minute workshop on IRCUP, this collaborative decision-making plan, and how it relates to the Macomb, Amador, Calaveras region's needs, and why are we even talking to the East San Joaquin people. So it's intended to be a baseline set of information, so a lot of the questions you've got, Marita, will have a better background to them. I wish I could be more responsive, but...
No, I just said I've been hearing this, and I just wanted to make sure we weren't duplicating, we were just doing a subset of what was starting at the state plan, and then at mountain counties, and then we're bringing it even lower.
Down to a watershed.
Yeah, no duplication, and it should be a step forward for us to have better discussions with others about this.
Other board comments?
Thank you.
Rob, do you have any additional comments you'd like to give to the board?
I'm not feeling compelled to. Everybody's got a smile on their face, why ruin it?
Okay, well, that completes item 9. Rob, we thank you for joining us.
All right, thank you. Good seeing you all again.
Actually, I believe we were seeking board direction as to whether to proceed on the basis, the $4,800, the big reduction. Are we in agreement with that?
That would be helpful for the budget.
Does the administrative office have a recommendation on that?
I recommend you to accept that.
Okay. Do we need to bring it back then for an action? I mean, just...
No,
isn't this part of the budget process?
It will be part of the budget process. It's part of our membership to the JPA.
I mean, we'll take paying you less money. We don't have a problem.
I will be supportive. That was a winning hand. Understood. And that's the way it worked last year. We had the presentation discussion. You got a lot of competing demands, and that's well understood. I appreciate the time and you guys' support and interest. So,
thank you, Rob.
Thanks, Rob.
Good deal. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move forward to item 10, review of correspondence reports and various matters of concern. Darren, we'll start with you today.
Well, I have a lot of matters of concern, but in the interest of time, I'll try to pare it down. I will not be having my normal Thursday luncheon sessions at Rancho or in Copapolis because we are scheduled to be in budget deliberations and presentations on Thursday. I believe How It Works is presenting to us, or some of the people on Thursday. So we'll be tied up with those things. So unfortunately, I won't be able to make those normal Thursday activities that I truly look forward to. So also this tomorrow, I will have a interview with the public television station here, which broadcasts the local public access channel. I believe Joel Metzger from the Enterprise will be conducting the interview. That'll start at 5:30 on public access, Channel 9 or Channel 7 or whatever it is, depending on where you're at in the county. After that interview, I'll be heading to the Calaveras High School graduation ceremony to watch some of my students do the graduation walk and congratulate them, and hopefully bring plenty of hankies with me for tears of joy for some of them that were in question possibly in years past that actually made the mark. It's an exciting time. So I think that's all I have to announce.
Okay, Gary, what do you have for the board?
Steve, do you have a camera meeting going on your schedule for next week?
I'm no longer on camera.
I mean, not camera, I mean CMCAA, I'm sorry.
On this week?
Next week.
Next week.
I think camera's on the 15th.
Camera's on.
I do have one in somewhere out a ways. Yes, I have one on for June 24th.
The 24th? Okay.
Yes, at 10 in Coulterville.
Okay.
Unless it's changed.
No, I thought I saw something on an email that I have tomorrow. I won't be able to attend at Mountain Valley Emergency Service Agency at 9 a.m. at Copperopolis Fire Station. So I think the alternate is Marita. So Marita, can you attend this for me tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we're in budget. What time is it?
9 a.m.
Okay,
so I won't be able to attend.
I'll leave that to the two of you.
And I do have a camera meeting on the 15th, which is next week. And that's all I have to bring.
Thank you. Marita, what do you have for the board?
Is that CC to be here? Is that CC?
Yes, there.
After the meeting this afternoon, I'll be going to the fundraiser for the Humane Society in Murphy's. If I have time, I will also be going to Oars for the green lighting program. I'll be attending the Calaveras Search and Rescue event on Saturday. And I want to report out a little bit on the California State Association of Counties Conference. Last week, Jeannie Boyce, Terry Hall, and I went to see Senator Gaines' office and Assemblymember Olson regarding Assembly Bill 109, which is the one that will be bringing prisoners to the counties. What we lobbied the senator and the assembly member about were the importance of supporting funding for this. This has all become more important based on the Supreme Court decision regarding the prisons in California need to reduce their population. So that means the counties will be absorbing that hit. So we lobbied them on supporting the funding. However it comes out, either the extension of the VLF and the sales tax and or general fund. They're going to have to budget for it out of general fund of the state, and constitutional guarantees that the counties will get money. I have to credit Terry Hall with being really powerful in her comments and to the senator's office and the assembly. The CSAC, California State Association of Counties, has been working closely with the California State Sheriff's Association and the Chief Probation Officers on this item, which will have a significant financial impact to counties. We also supported as a board former Sacramento supervisor, now assembly member Roger Dickinson, on the civil grand jury. The two items that we supported were requiring the civil grand jury, this doesn't apply to criminal, to meet with the chief executive officer or department heads to receive their input on any matters under investigation. And the reason for this is that frequently information gets to them that isn't technically correct. So it's just to verify that. It puts no limitations on grand juries on what they can or cannot report out on. It's just that we're saying we want you to make sure that you have the facts. And also to permit any witness in front of a civil grand jury who's providing testimony under oath to allow them to have an attorney present. As it is now, the attorney stands in the hallway, so if a witness wants to say something, they have to stop the meeting, go out, talk to the attorney, come back in. Again, this is a voluntary thing, it's not mandated, and the attorney cannot talk to the grand jury. Any conversation would be between the witness and the grand jury. So it was to really make the grand jury a little bit more accountable. Grand juries are appointed by the courts, but the funding for the grand jury and the responsibility rests with the counties. And grand juries can, of course, investigate any public agency within the jurisdiction of its respective counties, city or counties. Thank you.
Does that complete your comments?
Yes.
Steve, your comments, please.
I'll be in...
Wait, one more.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Marie.
And I have, just the water reminded me that I have a Department of Water Resources function on Monday afternoon.
Okay, I've got budget hearings in place of my usual activities for the next 3 days, it looks like. However, I will be at the CHIPS board meeting on a Wednesday evening in West Point. I will hopefully by Friday get out to the food bank garden thing that was previously announced in public comment. On Saturday, I'll be entertaining members of the East Bay Municipal Utility District's board on a raft trip down the McCollum River.
Oh, I did that Saturday.
Yes.
This was so much fun.
Yes, it's running high, and with any luck, we can make a couple of them walk the plank. And then I'm also hoping that evening to get to the search and rescue recognition event in Independence Hall in White Pines. On Sunday and Monday, I'm headed up to Bernie Hat Creek area, where we have the folks from Amador Calaveras, the forest group, meeting with a similar group up in Bernie Hat Creek to see what we can do to help both projects out. And finally,
what are those projects?
There's a whole series of forest projects. One has to do with meadow restorations. Our strength has been that we've involved a lot of job training and groups in the forest efforts on especially the fire safe work that's going on, the chipper program, the CFLRA project. It's a long combination of projects, but it goes in both El Dorado and Stanislaus National Forest here, and up there it's in the Plumas Forest and Lassen Forest. So the thought was, because we have very similar projects and both involve Native American groups, both of them involve farm and ranch communities, both of them involve 2 U.S. Forest Service BLM land and critical watersheds, that we'd actually do an exchange for a couple of days for members of the boards of each to get together in a joint meeting.
Very good.
And finally, there's a Paloma community meeting on Monday night, the 13th.
That complete your comments?
That completes my, one last thing. We had
you and Marita.
Yeah, yes, it's, at a certain age. But we actually, on a rainy night in Mountain Ranch, we managed to raise $11,200 for 10 projects in District 2. They include the following. We have the Miwok plant project, so we'll be able to afford putting one without cost to the county right here on the county premises, which was consistent with the board resolution of support. 2 youth centers, the Paloma Community Garden, 2 veterans halls, the Railroad Flat Community Hall, Moke Hill Parks and Recreation, the West Point radio station, and the Sheep Ranch cleanup project are all going to be benefited from that. So a good night was held by all, and
rain or shine.
Yep, it was amazing what showed up even in the hardship.
I have a question. The USDA is having something on the 13th at the library.
Yeah.
And I read that noon to 3:30.
On the 13th?
Yeah.
I don't know about it.
Okay, that's fine.
That's news too. News to a lot of us.
That's fine. And I'll track it down. Thank you.
Is that the USDA Rural Business Enterprise Grant? Okay, there's I know a little about this. This is a project. There are rural business enterprise grants that go through the USDA. It's designed to help rural businesses get going. Often there's a piece of equipment or something missing from a business plan and they make the difference up in, especially in business startups or helping existing businesses take the next step. It's a good program, but we don't access it a whole lot in Calaveras County.
What day is it?
No.
This is Monday.
Monday.
This is Monday the 13th, apparently.
I went to the last one they had here. It was informative.
Yeah,
that was from the director. This is down a notch.
Yeah, this is more like a practical working group that should help if businesses are interested. They should attend. I think it's a good program that could really help launch some good economic enterprise here.
Okay, does that complete your comments?
It certainly does.
Okay. I'll come to my comments. I have nothing to bring before the board today, and I don't think I forgot anything either. Okay, Jim Jones, what do you have today?
Forgot.
I forgot.
Nothing for the board.
Alzheimer's is sweeping the Board of Supervisors. Infectious. Okay, Jeannie Boyce, what do you have today for the
I just
board?
have one item for the board. I had a visit from David Studley from the Calaveras Historical Society yesterday, and he would, on behalf of the Historical Society, like to invite the board to a luncheon to be held at the Red Barn sometime this month, preferably at the end of the month, perhaps on a Tuesday.
That would be good.
They would like to show you all the work that's been accomplished by the volunteers at the Red Barn and the museum. So if the board is so willing, we'd like to identify a Tuesday that would work this month. Perhaps the last Tuesday of the month would work, if that's good for you.
Maybe just make it like a 2-hour lunch break instead of...
Right, we can do like 12 to 2.
So that we can hear the presentation and stuff.
Exactly.
Very good.
So if that's the wish of the board, I'm
That's fine.
here
Is that
to...
the board member?
28th works.
Does the 28th work for the rest of you? Okay, we'll plan that for the 28th.
As long as we're meeting, that works for me.
I'll get back to him. Thank you, and that's it.
Okay, that's it?
That's it.
Okay, we'll go to the board clerk. Diane, you have anything for the board? Seeing no more reports, that completes item 10. We will now...
Take a 10-minute recess.
We're going to take a 10-minute recess. We'll reconvene at 11 a.m. for a redistricting presentation, and thereafter we will meet after lunch at 1:30. I think the 1:30 we will need Diane present, and that's all part of the regular agenda item.
That's right.
So the study session will start at 11, so I think you're free till